Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood at the window of Luna Station, watching Earth rise over the moon's horizon. The blue planet looked peaceful from here, but Kim knew that peace was about to end. His communication device buzzed with an urgent message from President Park Ji-woo. "Admiral, we have visitors," the president said through the screen. "Big ones." Kim turned away from the window and walked quickly to the command center. The large screens showed something that made his blood run cold. 3 massive ships hung in space near the moon, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They were sleek and dark, with strange symbols glowing along their sides. "How long have they been there?" Kim asked his aide, Colonel Nam Hyun-woo. 15 minutes, sir." They appeared out of nowhere. No warning, no signal. Our sensors didn't detect them until they were already here. Dr. Lee So-min, Earth's top scientist, was already studying the readings. She looked worried. "Admiral, these ships are using technology we don't understand. The energy readings are off the charts." Before Kim could respond, a new voice filled the command center. It spoke perfect English, but there was something cold and strange about it. "Humans of Earth, this is Ambassador Velthari of the Galactic Council. You will prepare to receive our delegation immediately." Kim grabbed the communication device. "This is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of Earth's United Colonial Command. You're in our space without permission. State your business." There was a pause, then what sounded like laughter. "Your space? How amusing. You will learn your place soon enough, primitive ones." An hour later, Kim stood in the main conference room with President Park Ji-woo and Dr. Lee So-min. The doors opened and their visitors walked in. Kim had seen aliens in movies, but nothing prepared him for the real thing. Ambassador Velthari was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. 2 other aliens followed behind, looking like they were ready for war. One was covered in thick armor, while the other had weapons built into its body. "I am Ambassador Velthari," the tall alien said, sitting down without being invited. "I represent the Galactic Council, the ruling body of this galaxy. We have watched your species for some time now." President Park kept his voice calm. "Welcome to our system. We're always interested in meeting new civilizations." Velthari's face showed something like disgust. "This is not a social visit. We are here to deliver a warning." The alien pressed a button on a small device, and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed a map of the local star systems, with Earth at the center. Red lines marked the places where humans had built colonies and mining stations. "Your species has been expanding beyond your home world," Velthari said. "This expansion ends now." Dr. Lee So-min leaned forward. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand. We've only explored a few nearby systems. We haven't hurt anyone." "Haven't hurt anyone?" The armored alien spoke for the first time, its voice like grinding metal. "You destroy planets for resources. You poison atmospheres with your machines. You spread like a disease." Kim felt his anger rising. "We've been very careful to avoid planets with life. Every colony follows strict environmental rules." Velthari waved one of his 4 hands. "Your intentions do not matter. What matters is that you are primitive and dangerous. The Council has seen species like yours before. You start with small colonies, then build armies, then try to conquer everything you can reach." "That's not who we are," President Park said firmly. "It is who you will become," Velthari replied. "Unless we stop you now." The alien stood up and placed a crystal device on the table. "This contains our demands. You will cease all expansion beyond your home system immediately. You will destroy your colonies and mining stations. You will submit to guided development, under council oversight. Dr. Lee So-min stared at the crystal. Guided development? What does that mean? It means we will control your technology, your population, your future, the third alien said. Its voice was like music, but the words were terrifying. Many species have benefited from our guidance. They live peaceful, quiet lives under our protection. Kim couldn't stay quiet anymore. You mean you'll make us slaves? Velthari's eyes went cold. You will use that word once. Never again. We are offering you the chance to survive as a species. Accept our guidance or face the consequences. And if we refuse? President Park asked. The armored alien made a sound like laughter. No species has ever refused the council. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have weapons that can crack planets and fleets that block out stars. Your primitive ships and crude weapons would last perhaps an hour against our forces. Dr. Lee So-min was taking notes on her tablet. Kim noticed she was trying to scan the alien's technology, but her readings kept coming back as errors. How long do we have to decide? Kim asked. 7 of your days, Velthari said. That is generous. Usually we require immediate compliance. Why the extra time? President Park wondered. Because your species amuses us, the musical-voiced alien said. You have built impressive cities and crewed spacecraft despite your limitations. The Council is curious to see if you will show wisdom or foolishness. The 3 aliens moved toward the door. Velthari turned back one last time. Do not make the mistake of thinking you can fight us, he said. The Council has never lost a war. We have destroyed civilizations that were far more advanced than yours. Your choice is simple. Submit and live, or resist and die. After the aliens left, the 3 humans sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Dr. Lee So-min spoke. Their technology is incredible. Those ships could probably destroy our entire fleet without taking damage. But Kim could hear something in her voice, but there are things about their scans that don't make sense. Some of their readings were strange, like they weren't expecting certain things they found. President Park rubbed his temples. 7 days to decide the future of humanity. Kim stood up and looked out the window again. Earth was still there, still blue and beautiful. But now he knew there were things in the dark between the stars that wanted to control it. Mr. President, we need to call an emergency session of the Global Assembly. Every nation needs to hear about this. Agreed. Doctor. Lee, I want you to analyze everything you can about those aliens and their ships. Find weaknesses. I'll do my best, but Admiral, these beings have technology that's thousands of years ahead of ours. Kim smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Then we'll have to be smarter instead of stronger. As the moon station continued its orbit, Kim watched. The alien ships hanging in space like dark promises. In 7 days, humanity would have to choose between freedom and survival. But Kim was already thinking about a third option that the aliens hadn't considered. What if humanity chose to fight? The thought should have terrified him. Instead, it made him feel something he hadn't expected. It made him feel proud to be human. 3 days had passed since the alien ultimatum, and Earth was in chaos. Every news channel showed the same footage over and over, the massive alien ships hanging near the moon like dark threats. People filled the streets in every major city, some demanding surrender, others calling for war. In the Global Assembly building in Geneva, representatives from every nation on Earth argued through the night. President Park Ji-woo sat at the head of the main table. listening to the debates that would decide humanity's future. "We have no choice," said Chancellor Weber from the European Federation. "Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. Fighting them would be suicide." Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood up from his chair. "With respect, Chancellor, surrender would also be suicide, just slower." "Admiral Kim is right," said Prime Minister Nakamura from the Pacific Alliance. "These aliens don't want to guide us. They want to control us completely." Dr. Lee So-min had been quiet for most of the debate, but now she cleared her throat. "I need to share something with the Assembly. Something the aliens don't know." Every eye in the room turned to her. She activated a holographic display that showed detailed scans and charts. "For the past 3 days, I've been analyzing the data from our encounter with the alien delegation. Their ships are advanced, yes, but not in every way we expected." Chancellor Weber leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "Their shields and weapons are incredibly powerful, but their sensors are actually weaker than ours in some areas. They use brute force technology instead of elegant solutions. And there's something else." She paused, looking around the room. "They were surprised by our quantum computing systems. Very surprised." Admiral Kim felt his heart beat faster. "Surprised how?" "Their scans showed confusion when they detected our quantum networks. I think our computer technology might actually be more advanced than theirs in certain ways." The room exploded in excited whispers. President Park raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Lee, are you saying we might have technological advantages?" "In specific areas, yes. And there's more." She changed the display to show military readouts. "Colonel Nam, would you please share what your team discovered?" Colonel Nam Hyun-woo stood up, his face serious. 3 months ago, we detected unusual energy signatures in deep space. We thought they were natural phenomena, but after seeing the alien ships, we now know what they were." He activated his own display, showing a star map with red dots scattered across it. "The aliens have been watching us for much longer than they admitted. But here's the important part. They've been studying our older technology. Our current military capabilities are about 2 years ahead of what they've observed." The Russian delegate, General Petrov, spoke up. "What are you saying, Colonel?" "I'm saying they think they know what we're capable of, but they're wrong. For the past 2 years, Earth's military has been developing weapons and defenses based on a theoretical alien contact scenario. We call it Protocol Defiance." Chancellor Weber looked stunned. "You've been preparing for this?" Admiral Kim nodded. "Every military planner worth their rank has considered the possibility of hostile first contact. We may not have expected it this soon, but we're not completely unprepared." Dr. Lee So-min brought up another display. "And we've made breakthrough discoveries that the aliens couldn't have detected. Our quantum torpedo project, our new shield generators, our stealth ship designs, they're all based on principles that their sensors can't read." President Park stood up slowly. "Are you telling me that we actually have a chance?" "I'm telling you that we have advantages they don't know about," Admiral Kim said. "Whether that's enough to win a war, I don't know, but it might be enough to make them reconsider their threats." The Brazilian representative, Minister Santos, shook her head. "This is madness. Even if we have some technological surprises, they said their fleets could block out stars. How do we fight against numbers like that?" Colonel Nam smiled grimly. "The same way humans have always fought against superior numbers. We be smarter, faster, and more unpredictable than they expect." For the next 6 hours, the debate continued. Some representatives wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight, no matter the cost. But slowly, a consensus began to form around a third option: We send them a message, President Park finally said, but not the message they're expecting. Admiral Kim activated the main communication system. Outside, the alien ships still waited for Earth's surrender. Instead, they were about to get something no one had ever given the Galactic Council before. The transmission began with President Park's voice, clear and strong. Ambassador Velthari of the Galactic Council, this is President Park Ji-woo speaking, for all the people of Earth. We have considered your ultimatum carefully. On the screens, they could see the alien ships moving closer, probably expecting to receive Earth's submission. You demanded that we abandon our colonies, surrender our freedom, and submit to your control. You threatened us with destruction if we refused. You told us that no species has ever resisted your rule. Admiral Kim stepped forward to join the president at the communication station. Today that changes. On behalf of humanity and all free peoples everywhere, Earth formally rejects your ultimatum. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not surrender our freedom. And we will not submit to your control. The alien ships had stopped moving. Even across the vacuum of space, Kim could feel their shock. President Park's voice grew stronger. Furthermore, we consider your threats an act of war against Earth and all human colonies. As of this moment, a state of war exists between humanity and the Galactic Council. Dr. Lee So-min added her voice to the transmission. You have ruled this galaxy through fear and superior numbers for 10,000 years. You believe that makes you invincible. You are about to learn the difference between ruling through fear and earning respect through strength. Colonel Nam stepped forward for the final part of the message. You told us that our choice was simple: submit and live, or resist and die. You forgot the third option: resist and win. You have never fought humans before. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was giving us 7 days to prepare. Admiral Kim delivered the closing words. Ambassador Velthari, return to your council. Tell them that humanity chooses freedom over slavery, dignity over safety, and war over surrender. Tell them that their 10,000-year reign of fear ends now. The transmission ended. For a moment, the command center was completely silent. Then the alien ships began to move, but they weren't moving toward Earth. They were moving away, back toward deep space. They're leaving, Dr. Lee So-min said, watching her sensors. They're going to get reinforcements, Admiral Kim corrected. The real war starts now. President Park looked around the room at all the faces watching him. Fear, determination, pride, and terror mixed together in equal measure. God help us, he whispered. We just declared war on the galaxy. But as the alien ships disappeared into the darkness, Kim felt the same thing he had felt 3 days ago: pride. Humanity had been given a choice between freedom and safety, and they had chosen freedom. Now they had to prove they could keep it. Far across the galaxy, in the great council chambers on the world of Hegemony Prime, 12 ancient species sat in a circle that had not changed for 10,000 years. The chamber was vast, with walls that showed the stars of their empire stretching across the galaxy like jewels. War leader Zexthon of the Corvani stood at the center, his massive frame covered in battle armor that had never known defeat. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. The humans have refused our generous offer, he announced, and several council members made sounds of amusement. They believe they can fight us. High Counselor Morgeth, eldest of the Ethereal Collective, spoke in a voice like wind through ancient trees. This is unexpected, but not unprecedented. Young species sometimes show defiance before accepting reality. What do you recommend, War Leader? Asked Counselor Vextar of the Crystalline Hierarchy. Zexthon activated a holographic display showing Earth's solar system. A simple demonstration of power. I will take a patrol fleet to their home system and destroy a few of their colonies. After they see what real weapons can do, they will surrender quickly. Counselor Weithrak of the biomechanical synthesis made a clicking sound that meant skepticism. Are you certain a patrol fleet is sufficient? Our intelligence reports suggest they have more ships than we initially calculated. Zexthon laughed, a sound like metal grinding against stone. Their largest warship is smaller than my personal shuttle. Their weapons use chemical explosives and simple energy beams. A single Council destroyer could eliminate their entire fleet. How? Many ships will you take? High Counselor Morgeth asked. 3 heavy cruisers and 12 patrol ships, more than enough to make them understand their position. Unknown to the Council, Captain O.J. Sung of Earth's Deep Space Reconnaissance was watching their meeting through quantum listening devices that Dr. Lee So-min had hidden near Hegemony Prime months earlier. The devices were so small and used, technology so different from Council systems that their sensors couldn't detect them. O transmitted the intelligence back to Earth immediately. Within hours, Admiral Kim Tae-ho was studying the alien battle plans in his command center on Luna Station. 15 ships, Kim said to his staff. They're sending 15 ships to conquer humanity. General Yoon Dae-young, Earth's top military strategist, looked at the intelligence reports. They really don't understand what they're dealing with, do they? It gets better, Dr. Lee So-min said, reading from her analysis. Their patrol fleet uses standard Council tactics from their military database. Captain O was able to access their tactical computers. They fight in rigid formations and rely on overwhelming firepower. Colonel Nam Hyun-woo smiled. Perfect. Commander Shin, are the orbital platforms ready? Commander Shin Mi-jung nodded from her position at the tactical display. All 24 defense platforms are in position and fully cloaked. The aliens won't see them until we want them to. Admiral Kim looked at the projection showing Earth's solar system. For the past week, human ships had been moving into carefully planned positions. The aliens expected to find a primitive defense force scattered around Earth. Instead, they would find something very different. How long until they arrive? Kim asked. Captain O estimates 6 hours, Dr. Lee So-min replied. Good. That gives us time for final preparations. General Yoon, activate Protocol Defiance in full. Across the solar system, human forces began their final movements. Hidden bases on asteroids powered up weapons that the aliens had never seen before. Stealth ships moved into ambush positions along the routes the alien fleet would most likely take. On Earth itself, massive defense installations came online, their quantum shields creating invisible barriers around the planet. Dr. Lee So-min was particularly excited about the quantum torpedoes her team had developed. These weapons exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, she explained to Admiral Kim. The aliens' shields are designed to stop attacks from normal space. They won't stop something that's attacking from 4 dimensions at once. Meanwhile, the alien fleet was moving through hyperspace toward Earth, completely confident in their mission. War Leader Zexthon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Victory, reviewing the attack plan. Commander Kyleth, he said, to his second-in-command, remind me of the human capabilities. Primitive nuclear weapons, basic energy shields, crude faster-than-light drives, Kyleth replied. Their largest ships are roughly the size of our shuttles. Intelligence estimates, they have perhaps 50 combat vessels in their entire fleet. And our objective? Destroy their orbital installations. Eliminate any ships that approach, then demand surrender. If they continue to resist, we eliminate one of their colony worlds as an example. Zexthon nodded. This should take no more than a few hours. The humans will learn that the Council's patience has limits. But as the alien fleet approached Earth's solar system, Captain O.J. Sung was already tracking their movements from his hidden position near Jupiter. His ship, the Silent Runner, was completely invisible to Council sensors thanks to the new cloaking technology Dr. Lee So-min's team had developed. Admiral Kim, O transmitted through quantum communication, the alien fleet has entered our system. 15 ships, just as predicted. They're heading directly for Earth, just like our tactical model suggested. Excellent, Captain. Are they maintaining formation? Perfect formation, sir. They're flying exactly like their tactical manual says they should. Admiral Kim smiled. Human military doctrine had always emphasized flexibility and adaptation. The aliens, after 10,000 years of easy victories, had become predictable. Commander Shin, are you ready? All defense platforms locked and loaded, Admiral. The aliens won't know what hit them. As the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, War Leader Zexthon was already composing his victory report to the Council. The humans had built some orbital stations around their planet, just as intelligence had predicted. Their ships were exactly as primitive as expected. This would be over soon. Human vessels approaching, War Leader, reported his sensor officer. 12 small ships moving to intercept. 12 ships? Zexthon laughed. They're sending 12 ships against 15 of ours. Destroy them. Sir, our weapons are having difficulty locking onto the human ships. They're moving in very unusual patterns. Unusual how? They keep disappearing from our sensors, then reappearing in different locations, and War Leader, their ships are much faster than our intelligence indicated. Zexthon frowned. No matter. Use area effect weapons. Destroy everything in their vicinity. But as the alien weapons fired, something impossible happened. The human ships didn't just dodge the attacks. They seemed to phase in and out of existence, appearing behind the alien formation and launching weapons that the Council sensors couldn't identify. War Leader, the sensor officer called out in alarm. Our shields are failing. The human weapons are passing right through them. That's impossible. Council shields are impenetrable. But as Zexthon watched in growing horror, the human weapons struck his ships and caused damage that should have been impossible. These weren't primitive nuclear weapons. These were something entirely new. All ships, fall back to defensive positions, Zexthon ordered. Request immediate reinforcements. From Hegemony Prime, but it was too late. Commander Shin Mi-jung activated Earth's hidden defense grid, and suddenly the space around the alien fleet filled with weapons fire from platforms that appeared out of nowhere. War Leader, his communications officer reported. We're receiving a transmission from the humans. Put it through. Admiral Kim's voice filled the alien bridge, calm and confident. War Leader Zexthon, this is Admiral Kim Tae-ho of Earth's Defense Force. You are outgunned and surrounded. Surrender now, and we will treat your crews with dignity. Zexthon stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Half his fleet was already damaged or destroyed. The humans had turned his perfect ambush into a trap. For the first time in 10,000 years, a Council war fleet was in retreat. The Battle of Luna Station began at exactly 1430 Earth Standard Time. War Leader Zexthon's fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the Moon, expecting to find a small collection of primitive orbital platforms and perhaps a few patrol ships. Instead, they found themselves surrounded. "What is this?" Zexthon demanded, staring at his tactical displays. The space around Earth's moon was filled with energy signatures that hadn't been there during their reconnaissance. "War leader," his sensor officer reported, "I'm detecting 24 large installations around the human moon. They weren't there before." Of course they weren't there before. Humans can't build orbital platforms that quickly. But Commander Shin Mi-jung had spent the last year preparing for exactly this moment. Her defense platforms hadn't been built in a week. They'd been built in secret and kept cloaked until needed. Each platform was armed with quantum torpedoes and powered by fusion reactors that Dr. Lee So-min's team had designed specifically to fight alien technology. From her command center deep inside Luna Station, Commander Shin watched the alien fleet move into her trap. "All platforms, maintain cloak until my signal. Let them get closer." Admiral Kim stood beside her, watching the tactical display. "How long before they realize what's happening?" "They already know something's wrong," Shin replied. "But they don't know how wrong." On the bridge of the inevitable victory, war leader Zexthon was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. His ship's sensors were detecting strange energy patterns throughout the human system, but nothing that matched Council technology databases. "Commander Kyleth, what are your thoughts on these readings?" "Unknown, war leader. The human technology appears to be using principles we don't understand." "Impossible. We've been studying their development for decades. They use simple nuclear and chemical reactions, but Captain O.J. Sung's reconnaissance team had been feeding false information to Council sensors for months. While the aliens thought they were observing Earth's actual military capabilities, they were actually seeing carefully crafted illusions designed to make human technology appear primitive." "Human ships approaching," the alien sensor officer announced. 12 vessels moving to intercept." Zexthon studied the approaching ships on his display. They looked exactly like the crude human designs in his intelligence files. Finally, something familiar. "All ships, prepare to engage. Show these primitives what real weapons can do." The 12 human ships were led by Captain Cho Min-ho in his stealth frigate, the Shadow Strike. His orders were simple: make the aliens focus on his ships while Commander Shin prepared her surprise. "All ships, begin evasive maneuvers," Cho transmitted to his squadron. "Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're just trying to survive it long enough." The alien weapons opened fire, and Captain Cho's pilots did something that alien tactical computers had never seen before. Instead of flying in formation like every other species in the galaxy, the human ships scattered in completely random directions. "Their movement patterns make no sense," the alien tactical officer reported. "Our targeting computers can't predict where they're going." "Because they don't know where they're going either," Zexthon said with contempt. "Undisciplined savages use area effect weapons, but as the alien weapons filled space with destructive energy, the human ships did something else unexpected. They activated Dr. Lee So-min's experimental phase shift technology." "War leader!" the sensor officer called out in panic. "The human ships just disappeared." "Cloaking devices?" "No, sir, they didn't cloak. They just stopped existing in normal space." For 30 seconds, the alien fleet fired at empty space. Then the human ships reappeared, behind the alien formation. Captain Cho smiled as his targeting computer locked onto the alien flagship. "All ships, fire quantum torpedoes. Let's see how their shields handle weapons from 4 dimensions." The quantum torpedoes struck the alien ships like nothing they had ever experienced. Instead of hitting the shields and being absorbed or deflected, the weapons passed through the shields as if they weren't there and struck the hull directly. Impossible! Zexthon roared as his flagship shook under the impact. Our shields are perfect. Not against weapons that attack from multiple dimensions simultaneously, Dr. Lee So-min said through the communication system she had hacked. Your shields exist in normal space. Our weapons don't. 3 alien ships exploded in the first exchange. The others began to panic, breaking formation as their commanders tried to understand what was happening. Now, Commander Shin said calmly, all 24 defense platforms decloaked simultaneously. Suddenly, the space around the alien fleet was filled with massive installations that shouldn't have existed. Where did they come from? Zexthon demanded. They were always there. Admiral Kim's voice came through the communication system. You just couldn't see them. The defense platforms opened fire, and the alien fleet found itself caught in a crossfire that their tactical computers couldn't analyze. Every weapon that hit them used principles that weren't in their databases. War Leader, Commander Kyleth said urgently, we're taking massive damage. Request permission to retreat. The Council has never retreated. The Council has never fought. Humans! War Leader Zexthon watched 3 more of his ships explode under the strange human weapons. His flagship was losing power, and his weapons couldn't seem to hit the fast-moving human vessels. Sir, his communications officer reported, the humans are transmitting again. Admiral Kim's voice was calm and professional. War Leader Zexthon, you are outgunned and surrounded. Your ships are badly damaged, and you've lost 6 vessels. Surrender now, and we will treat your crews according to the laws of war. Laws of war? Zexthon snarled. You're primitives. You don't have laws of war. We invented them, Admiral Kim replied. And unlike the Council, we follow them. You have 60 seconds to decide. Zexthon looked at his tactical display. Half. His fleet was gone. The humans were right. He was surrounded and outgunned. But the idea of surrender was impossible to accept. All ships, retreat to hyperspace, he finally ordered. Emergency jump, now! But Captain O.J. Sung had positioned his ships to block the most likely escape routes. As the alien ships tried to flee, they found human vessels waiting for them. Warning. Shots only, Admiral Kim ordered. Let them go. They have a message to deliver. The surviving alien ships limped away from Earth's solar system, leaving behind the wreckage of 6 Council vessels and the pride of 10,000 years of easy victories. In the Luna Station Command Center, Commander Shin Mi-jung looked at her damage reports. 3 platforms suffered minor damage. All human ships accounted for and operational. Dr. Lee So-min was already analyzing the alien technology from the destroyed ships. Admiral, their weapons are powerful but crude. They rely on overwhelming force instead of precision, and their shield technology has fundamental weaknesses we can exploit. Admiral Kim nodded, but his expression was serious. This was just a patrol fleet. When the Council learns what happened here, they'll send everything they have. Colonel Nam Hyun-woo was monitoring Council communications. Admiral, they're already calling for reinforcements. Intelligence suggests they're mobilizing their entire battle fleet. How long do we have? Maybe a month, sir. Possibly less. Admiral Kim looked out at the wreckage of the alien ships floating in space near the moon. Humanity had won its first victory against the Galactic Council, but the real war was just beginning. Send a message to all human colonies, he ordered. Tell them what happened here. Tell them we can win this war. As news of the victory spread across Earth and the human colonies, people celebrated in the streets. But in the depths of space, War Leader Zexthon was sending a very different message to the Council. They have weapons we don't understand, he reported. They fight like no species we've ever encountered, and they're not afraid of us. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Galactic Council was afraid of someone else. High Counselor Morgeth had lived for 3,000 years and ruled the galaxy for most of that time. In all those centuries, he had never felt what humans called fear. He felt it now as he read War Leader Zexathon's battle report for the third time. The Great Council Chamber on Hegemony Prime had never been so quiet. 12 species that had conquered the galaxy together now sat in stunned silence, trying to understand how half a fleet had been destroyed by primitives who shouldn't have been able to scratch their paint. "Read the report again," demanded Counselor Ithrak of the Biomechanical Synthesis. War Leader Zexthon stood in the center of the chamber, his armor still bearing scorch marks from the battle. His voice was hollow as he repeated the impossible facts. "The humans possess weapons that bypass our shields completely. They can make their ships disappear and reappear in different locations. They had 24 major defense installations that our sensors couldn't detect until they attacked." "You're telling us," said Counselor Vextar slowly, "that a species we discovered last week has technology superior to ours?" "In certain areas, yes." High Counselor Morgeth activated his private communication system and spoke to his intelligence advisors. After several minutes, he turned back to the council. "Our deep intelligence networks confirm something disturbing. The humans have been developing their technology much faster than our projections indicated. What we thought was primitive engineering is actually sophisticated science using principles we don't understand." Supreme Commander Yulthak of the Draconian Empire spoke for the first time. His voice was like controlled lightning. "How is this possible? We've been watching them for decades." "Apparently we've been watching carefully constructed lies," Zexthon admitted. "Their real capabilities were hidden from our sensors." The silence that followed was broken by Counselor Zargeth of the Hive Collective. "This changes everything. If the humans can defeat our fleets, other species might rebel." That thought sent a chill through every council member. For 10,000 years, they had ruled through the simple promise that resistance was impossible. If that promise was broken, their entire empire could collapse. "What do you recommend, Supreme Commander?" High Counselor Morgeth asked. Yulthak stood up, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. "Total war. We mobilize every fleet, every weapon, every resource. We don't just defeat the humans. We annihilate them so completely that no other species will ever dare to resist us again." "And if they have more surprises?" asked Counselor Velkoth of the Machine Consciousness. "Then we learn to expect surprises," Yulthak replied grimly. "The age of easy conquest is over." Meanwhile, in a hidden facility beneath the surface of Mars, Ambassador Kor Yang Ho was meeting with representatives from species that the Council claimed didn't exist. These were the survivors, races that had been guided to extinction when they became inconvenient, but had managed to hide remnants of their people in the dark spaces between stars. "The humans actually fought them?" asked Elder Thixara of the exiled Luminous Collective. "And won." "Not just fought," Kor replied, showing them recordings of the Battle of Luna Station. "They destroyed half the Council fleet and forced the survivors to retreat." The room filled with excited whispers in a dozen different languages. Hope was a feeling these species had almost forgotten. "We want to help," declared Captain Vorthak of the Hidden Fleet. Ships that had been presumed destroyed centuries ago, but had actually been hiding in deep space. "Our weapons may be old, but we know Council weaknesses that the humans haven't discovered yet." Kor had been hoping for exactly this response. "What can you offer?" Elder Thixara activated a holographic display showing star charts the Council thought they had destroyed. Supply routes, hidden bases, communication networks. The Council has grown careless over the centuries. They assume all their enemies are dead. And we know which Council member species are unhappy with their current situation. Added Representative Sill, then, of the Forgotten Worlds. Not every species joined the Council willingly. Some might be willing to switch sides if they thought the humans could actually win. Back on Earth, Dr. Lee So-min was analyzing the alien technology recovered from the destroyed ships. Her laboratory was filled with devices that seemed to bend the laws of physics, but she was beginning to understand how they worked. "Admiral Kim," she called excitedly, "you need to see this." Admiral Kim arrived to find her standing in front of a massive alien shield generator. "What did you find?" "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's also incredibly specialized. They've spent 10,000 years fighting the same kinds of weapons, so their defenses are perfect against conventional attacks. But they've never faced anything like our quantum weapons. Meaning we can hurt them, but they can definitely hurt us too. The difference is that we can adapt faster than they can." Colonel Nam Hyun-woo entered the laboratory with urgent news. Dr. Lee were intercepting massive Council communications. They're mobilizing something called Battle Fleet Prime. Dr. Lee's face went pale. "I've been studying their databases. Battle Fleet Prime is their ultimate weapon, 1,000 ships, commanded by their best military leader." "Supreme Commander Yulthak," Admiral Kim said grimly. "Our intelligence files say he's never lost a battle." "He's never fought humans," Dr. Lee pointed out. "True, but 1,000 ships." Admiral Kim shook his head. "We have maybe 200 vessels total, and most of those are converted civilian ships." Dr. Lee smiled. "Then we'd better make sure quality beats quantity." In the depths of space, Captain O.J. Sung was conducting reconnaissance near the Council's main military base. His stealth ship was completely invisible to their sensors, allowing him to observe their preparations. "Admiral," he transmitted through quantum communication, "you're not going to believe this. They're loading every type of weapon they have. Planet crackers, star killers, reality bombs. They're not planning to conquer us. They're planning to erase us from existence." Admiral Kim received the transmission in his command center. Around him, his staff worked frantically to prepare Earth's defenses for an enemy that could apparently destroy stars. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Based on their loading schedules, maybe 3 weeks," Captain O replied. General Yoon Dae-young looked up from his strategic planning. "Admiral, we need to consider the possibility that Earth can't survive this assault." "Evacuation?" "Partial. We can't move everyone, but we could save some of our population and our technology." Admiral Kim was quiet for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "No. If we run now, we'll always be running. This is where we make our stand." Dr. Lee So-min looked up from her research. "Admiral, I might have an alternative. The Council's technology is powerful, but it's also predictable. If we can't match their firepower, maybe we can turn it against them. What do you have in mind?" "Something that's never been tried before. Something so crazy that even humans wouldn't normally consider it." Admiral Kim smiled. "Dr. Lee, crazy is exactly what we need right now. As the Council's war machine mobilized, across the galaxy, humanity prepared for a battle that would determine the fate of every free species in the universe. The Council was bringing overwhelming force, but humans were bringing something the galaxy had never seen before. They were bringing the willingness to risk everything for freedom. Intelligence Officer Park Hyo-jin finished decoding the latest Council communications and brought the results to Admiral Kim. Sir, we've identified which species are being forced to provide ships for Battlefleet Prime. Some of them might be willing to help us if we can contact them. Do it, Admiral Kim ordered. If the Council wants a galactic war, let's give them on. The stage was set for the largest battle in galactic history. But this time, the outcome wasn't predetermined. Supreme Commander Yulthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Galaxy's End, watching the largest war fleet in galactic history prepare for departure. 1,000 ships stretched across space in perfect formation, each one capable of destroying planets. Beside them, supply vessels carried weapons that could crack moons and bombs that could ignite stars. All fleets report ready for departure, Supreme Commander, announced Fleet Admiral Korthix. Yulthak nodded, his scaled face showing. No emotion. Begin the advance. Set course for the human home system. We will end this rebellion before it spreads. But Admiral Kim Tae-ho had no intention of letting the Council bring their overwhelming force to Earth unopposed. In the 3 weeks since the Battle of Luna Station, he had been implementing a strategy that would have seemed impossible to any other species in the galaxy. Instead of concentrating his forces to defend Earth, he was scattering them across dozens of star systems. Captain Cho Min-ho, report your position, Admiral Kim transmitted to his fleet commanders. Shadow Strike Squadron positioned near the Rigel Supply Depot, Admiral, ready to begin harassment operations. Captain Han Soo-jin, Fast Attack Squadron, in position near the Vega Communication Hub. Awaiting orders. Admiral Kim looked at the strategic display showing human forces spread across 50 star systems. To most military commanders, it would look like suicide, dividing a small force against a much larger enemy. But humans had been fighting guerrilla wars for thousands of years. All units, commence Operation Wildfire. Hit everything that moves, then disappear before they can respond. Across the galaxy, human ships began attacking Council supply lines, communication networks, and isolated patrol fleets. They struck fast and vanished before reinforcements could arrive, leaving confusion and wreckage in their wake. Captain Cho Min-ho led his squadron in an attack on a Council supply convoy carrying weapons to Battlefleet Prime. His ships dropped out of hyperspace, destroyed the convoy's escorts with quantum torpedoes, and disappeared again before the main fleet could respond. Target destroyed, Admiral, Cho reported. No human casualties. The Council just lost enough ammunition to supply 50 ships. At the same time, Captain Han Soo-jin was leading a raid on a Council communication station. Her ships used Dr. Lee, So-min's new jamming technology to disrupt the station's defenses, then planted explosive charges that would destroy the facility after they left. Communication hub eliminated, Han reported. The Council just lost contact with 3 sectors. Supreme. Commander Yulthak watched the reports pour in with growing anger. In just 12 hours, the humans had attacked 37 different targets across 20 star systems. His massive fleet couldn't be everywhere at once. How are they moving so fast? He demanded. Unknown Supreme Commander, Fleet Admiral Korthix replied. Our intelligence suggests they shouldn't have more than 200 ships total, but they're attacking as if they have thousands. The answer was Dr. Lee So-min's breakthrough in quantum drive technology. Human ships could now jump directly from one star system to another without using the hyperspace lanes that the Council monitored. It made them effectively invisible until they chose to attack. Sir, the intelligence officer reported, We're also receiving reports of sabotage within our own fleets. Some of our vassal species appear to be experiencing technical difficulties. Yulthak's eyes narrowed. What kind of difficulties? Navigation errors, weapon malfunctions, shield failures. The affected ships are requesting permission to return to base for repairs. What the Council didn't know was that Ambassador Kor Yang Ho had been very busy. Using the hidden communication networks discovered by the exile species, he had been contacting every Council member species that had joined the Empire unwillingly. The humans offer alliance based on equality, Kor transmitted to secret resistance cells across the galaxy. No species rules over another. No forced tribute or guided development. Just freedom to choose your own path. The response was better than he had hoped. Species that had spent centuries serving the Council were suddenly remembering what independence felt like. Captain Vorthak of the Hidden Fleet contacted Kor with excellent news. 23 vassal species have agreed to help. They can't openly rebel yet, but they can ensure their ships develop convenient technical problems at crucial moments. Back in the Sol system, Colonel Nam Yun Woo was preparing Earth's final defenses. The guerrilla attacks were slowing the Council advance, but eventually Yulthak would reach Earth with whatever forces remained. How many ships will make it through? Admiral Kim asked. Best estimate? About 600 ships, Nam replied. The harassment campaign has been more effective than we hoped, but Yulthak is a good commander. He's adapting to our tactics. Doctor. Lee So-min looked up from her latest project. Then we'd better make sure we're ready for them. She had been working on something she called the Quantum Defense Matrix, a network of weapons platforms that existed partially outside normal space. If her calculations were correct, they would be able to attack Council ships while remaining completely invisible to their sensors. How many platforms can you build in time? Admiral Kim asked. 50, maybe 60 if we work around the clock? Do it, and Dr. Lee, make sure they pack a punch. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Yulthak was growing increasingly frustrated with the human tactics. Every time he sent ships to hunt down the raiders, they vanished. Every time he tried to protect a supply convoy, the humans attacked somewhere else. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered, Fleet Admiral Korthix observed. They don't seem to care about holding territory or protecting their fleets. They just hit us and run. Because they're trying to weaken us before the final battle, Yulthak realized. They know they can't match us ship for ship, so they're bleeding us dry. Orders, Supreme Commander? Ignore the raiders. All ships, advance directly to the human home system at maximum speed. We'll end this war at its source. But as Battlefleet Prime accelerated toward Earth, they discovered that the humans had one more surprise waiting for them. Captain O.J. Sung had been using his stealth ship to place quantum mines along the most likely approach routes to Earth. The mines were invisible to Council sensors and programmed to attack the largest ships first. When Yulthak's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, they flew directly into the minefield. Explosions erupted throughout the Council formation as quantum mines detonated against their flagships. The mines used the same dimensional shift technology as the quantum torpedoes, passing through shields and striking hulls directly. "Ambush!" Fleet Admiral Korthix shouted as his ship shook under multiple impacts. "All ships! Evasive maneuvers!" But in the confusion of the minefield attack, the human raiders struck again. Captain Cho Min-ho and Captain Han Soo-jin had been waiting in the outer system, and they hit the Council fleet's flanks while the aliens were distracted by the mines. "Supreme Commander," the damage control officer reported, "we've lost 43 ships to the mines and another 27 to the raider attacks. The fleet is scattered across the system. Yulthak stared at his tactical display in disbelief. He had started with 1,000 ships and lost almost 400 before even reaching the main battle. The humans had turned his overwhelming advantage into a fair fight. "All ships, reform on my position," he ordered. "Prepare for final assault on the human homeworld." But as his surviving ships moved toward Earth, Admiral Kim activated the quantum defense matrix. 60 weapon platforms shimmered into existence. Around Earth, each one armed with weapons that could destroy capital ships. "Welcome to our solar system, Supreme Commander," Admiral Kim transmitted. "We've been expecting you." For the first time in his military career, Yulthak looked at a tactical situation and wasn't certain he could win. The humans had done something no enemy had ever managed. They had made the galaxy's most powerful military force afraid. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, and the outcome was no longer certain. The Battle of Kepler Station began 3 days before anyone expected it to. General Yoon Dae-young had been studying Council movement patterns for weeks, and he realized that Supreme Commander Yulthak was planning to use the massive space station as a staging area for his final assault on Earth. Kepler Station was one of humanity's most important outposts, a massive facility built around an artificial gravity well that served as a hub for trade and communication throughout human space. If the Council captured it, they would have a perfect base for attacking Earth. If humanity destroyed it themselves, they would lose their most important strategic position. General Yoon chose a third option. "We take the station first," he announced, to the assembled fleet commanders. Before Yulthak arrives, Admiral Kim studied the tactical display showing Kepler Station and the surrounding space. "General, that station is defended by a full Council garrison. 300 ships, heavily fortified positions, planetary defense shields. It's designed to be impregnable." "Against conventional attacks?" "Yes," General Yoon replied. "But Dr. Lee has given us something unconventional." Dr. Lee Somin activated her presentation, showing a weapon that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. "Temporal displacement technology. We can make our ships attack from multiple points in time simultaneously." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Cho Min-ho was the first to speak. "You're talking about time travel." "Not exactly," Dr. Lee explained. "We're talking about existing in multiple time streams at once. Our ships will attack the station from past, present, and future positions simultaneously. The Council's defenses can't stop attacks that haven't happened yet or are already over." Colonel Nam Hyun-woo looked skeptical. "The risks?" "Considerable," Dr. Lee admitted. "If the temporal displacement field fails, our ships could be scattered across decades. But if it works, we'll have achieved something impossible. We'll outnumber the enemy despite having fewer ships." Admiral Kim made the decision. "Do it. How long to implement?" 12 hours to modify our ship's quantum drives. Another 6 to coordinate the attack." While Dr. Lee's teams worked frantically to modify the human fleet, Ambassador Kor Yang-ho was preparing his own surprise. The exile species and resistance movements had agreed to coordinate a simultaneous uprising across Council space. When the humans attack Kepler Station, Kor transmitted to hidden rebel cells. "That's our signal. Every species that wants freedom fights back at the same moment." Elder Thixara of the Luminous Collective had been planning this moment for centuries. "Our people are ready. The Council thinks we're extinct, but we've been building ships in the dark spaces between stars. They're about to discover that the dead can fight." Captain Vorthak commanded nearly 200 hidden fleet vessels that had been presumed destroyed over the past few centuries. My ships are old, but they still have teeth. We'll hit Council supply bases while the humans engage their main fleet. Intelligence. Officer Park Hyo-jin had infiltrated the Council's communication networks so thoroughly that she was reading their battle plans before some Council commanders received them. Admiral Kim, I have complete intelligence on the Kepler station defenses. I can also plant false orders in their system to confuse their response. Supreme Commander Yulthak was approaching Kepler Station with his remaining 600 ships, expecting to find a lightly defended human outpost. Instead, his sensors detected something impossible. Fleet Admiral, his sensor officer reported, I'm reading human ships in the Kepler system. How many? Yulthak demanded. That's the problem, sir. The sensors show the same ships in multiple locations, and some of the readings are temporal anomalies. Explain. Sir, according to our sensors, some of those ships attacked the station yesterday, are attacking it now, and will attack it tomorrow. All at the same time. Fleet Admiral. Korthix stared at his displays in confusion. That's impossible. But as Battlefleet Prime approached Kepler Station, they witnessed something that defied everything they thought they knew about warfare. Human ships appeared from nowhere, attacked Council positions with devastating effect, then vanished again. But instead of retreating, the same ships appeared to attack from different directions, sometimes from positions they had occupied hours earlier. Commander Shin Mi-jung coordinated the temporal assault from her flagship, the Quantum Storm. All units, initiate temporal displacement. Remember, you're fighting alongside yourselves from 3 different time streams. Don't get confused about which version of the battle you're in. The effect was devastating. Council defenders found themselves under attack from enemies that seemed to be everywhere at once. Their targeting computers couldn't lock onto ships that existed in multiple time frames simultaneously. This is impossible, the Council station commander transmitted. Our shields are being hit by weapons that fired before the ships that launched. Them arrived. General Yoon watched the battle unfold from his command ship. The temporal displacement technology was working perfectly, but it was also putting enormous strain on the human ships and crews. Dr. Lee, how long can we maintain this? Maximum of 2 hours before the temporal fields collapse, she replied. But that should be enough. As the human assault continued, the carefully planned galactic uprising began. Across Council space, species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly revealed that they had never forgotten how to fight. The luminous collective emerged from hiding with ships that used pure energy as both propulsion and weapons. The hidden fleet struck Council supply depots with vessels that had been upgraded with captured alien technology. Dozens of vassal species suddenly developed convenient technical failures that left Council forces stranded or defenseless. Supreme. Commander, Fleet Admiral Korthix reported from the Kepler battle, we're receiving reports of rebellion in 17 sectors. Our vassal fleets are either defecting or developing massive technical problems. Yulthak watched his tactical display with growing horror. Half his fleet was trapped in an impossible battle where the humans seemed to be attacking from past, present, and future simultaneously. The other half was dealing with uprisings across the galaxy. All ships, retreat from Kepler Station, he ordered. Regroup at the fleet rally point. But General Yoon had anticipated this move. As the Council fleet tried to withdraw, Captain O.J. Sung's reconnaissance ships activated quantum jammers that disrupted hyperspace navigation. Council fleet, this is General Yoon Dae-young, he transmitted. You're surrounded and cut off from hyperspace. I'm offering you one chance to surrender." "Never," Yulthak replied. "The Council does not surrender." "Then the Council learned something new today," General Yoon said calmly. The temporal displacement field began to collapse, but its job was done. Kepler Station was under human control, and Supreme Commander Yulthak's flagship was badly damaged and surrounded. Colonel Nam Hyun-woo led the boarding action that captured the galaxy's end. Council Marines had never faced human special forces. In close combat, and the battle was over quickly. "Supreme Commander Yulthak," Colonel Nam announced as Council troops surrendered, "you are my prisoner." For the first time in galactic history, the Council's supreme military commander had been captured in battle. Dr. Lee So-min was already analyzing the captured Council flagship. "Admiral Kim, their technology is incredible, but it's also incredibly centralized. Everything depends on command and control from a few key nodes. If we can disrupt those nodes, we can paralyze their entire empire," Admiral Kim finished. As news of the victory spread across the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Species that had served the Council for millennia began openly declaring independence. The empire that had ruled for 10,000 years was cracking apart. High Counselor Morgeth received the reports in his chamber on Hegemony Prime. For the first time in 3,000 years, he felt something he had forgotten existed: fear of defeat. "Summon the Emergency Council," he ordered. "If we cannot defeat the humans militarily, we must try diplomacy." But as he prepared for what might be the last council session in galactic history, Morgeth wondered if it was already too late. The humans had done more than win battles. They had given the galaxy hope, and hope, once awakened, was impossible to destroy. The message from High Counselor Morgeth arrived at Luna Station exactly 48 hours after the capture of Supreme Commander Yulthak. Admiral Kim read it twice before believing what he was seeing. "They want to negotiate?" President Park, Ji-woo asked when Kim forwarded the message to Earth. "More than that," Admiral Kim replied. "They're requesting a formal peace conference. They're offering to recognize human independence and withdraw from our space." Dr. Lee So-min looked up. From her analysis of captured Council technology, "Admiral, this could be a trap." "Of course it's a trap," Colonel Nam Hyun-woo agreed. "The question is whether it's a trap we can turn to our advantage." The peace conference was scheduled to take place at Harmony Point, a neutral space station that had been built centuries ago by species seeking to avoid Council control. It was one of the few places in the galaxy where all races could meet on equal terms. President Park led the human delegation, accompanied by Admiral Kim, Ambassador Kor Yang-ho, and Dr. Lee So-min. The journey to Harmony Point took them through space that was no longer controlled by the Council. Everywhere they looked, former vassal species were declaring independence and setting up their own governments. "Look at that," Ambassador Kor said, pointing to a star system where 3 different species had built a joint space station. 6 months ago, they were forced to compete for Council favor. Now they're working together as equals. The delegation that met them at Harmony Point was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Representatives from over 100 species, some that had been thought extinct, others that had never been formally contacted by anyone, gathered to witness what many hoped would be the end of the Council era. High Counselor Morgeth arrived. With only a small escort, his usual arrogance replaced by something that looked suspiciously like desperation. The being who had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years now looked old and tired. "President Park," Morgeth said formally, "the Galactic Council offers terms for peace." "I'm listening," President Park replied. Morgoth activated a holographic display showing the galaxy divided into zones. The Council will recognize human independence within your current territory. In exchange, you will cease your attacks on Council space and return our captured personnel. Admiral Kim studied the proposed boundaries. These terms would leave you controlling 60% of the galaxy. The Council would remain the dominant power. That is the natural order, Morgoth replied. The Council has ruled successfully for 10,000 years. Successfully for whom? Ambassador Kor asked. For the species you've enslaved? For the civilizations you've destroyed? For the billions who live in fear of your guidance? Dr. Lee So-min stood up and activated her own display, showing intelligence gathered from captured Council systems. High Counselor, your empire is collapsing. 17 sectors have declared independence. Your vassal fleets are defecting or refusing orders. Your own member species are questioning your leadership. Temporary setbacks, Morgoth insisted. Order will be restored. President Park shook his head. High Counselor, you don't understand what's happening here. This isn't about humans fighting the Council. This is about every free species in the galaxy standing together against tyranny. What are your terms? Morgoth asked, his voice barely a whisper. President Park looked around the room at representatives from dozens of species that had suffered under Council rule. Complete dissolution of the Galactic Council's authority over other species. Every race gets to choose its own government and way of life. No more forced tribute, no more guided development, no more threats of extinction for those who refuse to comply. The silence that followed was deafening. For 10,000 years, the Council had been the ultimate authority in the galaxy. The idea of voluntarily giving up that power was unthinkable. And if we refuse? Morgoth asked. Admiral Kim answered quietly. Then the war continues until every species in the galaxy is free to make that choice. Elder Thixera of the Luminous Collective spoke for the first time. High Counselor, my people were declared extinct when we refused to surrender our freedom. But we survived in hiding, and we're not the only ones. The galaxy is full of species you thought you had destroyed. Captain Vorthak of the Hidden Fleet added his voice. Our ships have been waiting centuries for this moment. We can continue this war for as long as necessary. High Counselor Morgoth looked around the room and saw something that had never existed before, a united coalition of free species. Humans had done more than win military victories. They had shown the galaxy that cooperation was stronger than domination. The Council requires time to consider these terms, Morgoth said finally. You have 24 hours, President Park replied. After that, we assume you've chosen war. During the recess, Dr. Lee So-min approached Admiral Kim with exciting news. Admiral, I've been analyzing the technology from dozens of different species represented here. If we share knowledge freely instead of hoarding it like the Council does, we could advance galactic civilization by thousands of years. Ambassador Kor had been talking with representatives from former Council member species. Admiral, 3 of the founding Council races want to join our alliance. They're tired of being ruled by fear. What about the others? Admiral Kim asked. 2 are willing to accept independence for their vassal species if they can keep their core territories. 1 is demanding we surrender immediately, and High Counselor Morgoth, I think he's finally realizing that his empire is over. 24. Hours later, the peace conference reconvened. High Counselor Morgoth looked like he had aged centuries in a single day. The Council accepts your terms, he announced, his voice hollow with defeat. The room erupted in celebration. Species that had been enemies for millennia embraced each other. Representatives who had never been allowed to speak as equals now planned joint projects and shared technologies. But President Park raised his hand for silence. High Counselor, accepting our terms is just the beginning. We need to build something new to replace what you're giving up. Dr. Lee So-min activated a new display showing plans for a galactic government unlike anything that had ever existed. The Galactic Federation. Every species gets equal representation regardless of size or technology level. Decisions are made by consensus, not force. Technology and knowledge are shared freely. And leadership? Asked Representative Sylvan of the Forgotten Worlds. Rotates every 5 years, Admiral Kim explained. No single species or group can accumulate permanent power. High Counselor Morgeth stared at the Federation plans. This will fail. Cooperation on this scale is impossible. Conflict is inevitable. Maybe, President Park admitted. But we're going to try anyway, because the alternative is what we've had for the last 10,000 years, rule through fear and oppression. 6 months later, Captain O.J. Sung stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizons, watching a joint human-ethereal Corvani science team prepare for the first mission to explore the galactic edge. The ship's crew included representatives from 12 different species, all working together as equals. Captain, his communications officer announced, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Admiral Kim's face appeared on the screen. Captain O, how's the new job? Strange, sir, O admitted. Yesterday, a Corvani engineer and a human physicist figured out how to make our drives 30% more efficient. Last week, an ethereal navigator discovered a new kind of space-time phenomenon that could revolutionize travel. When species work together instead of competing, amazing things happen. Back on Earth, Dr. Lee So-min was leading the Federation Science Council, coordinating research projects involving hundreds of species. Her latest breakthrough, a medical technique that combined human creativity, ethereal energy manipulation, and biomechanical precision, had already saved millions of lives. The Galactic Federation wasn't perfect. There were disputes, misunderstandings, and occasional conflicts. But for the first time in galactic history, these problems were solved through discussion and compromise rather than threats and force. President Park, now serving as the Federation's first elected president, often thought about the day when Ambassador Velthari had first arrived at Luna Station. The aliens had offered humanity a choice between submission and death, never imagining there was a third option. Freedom, not just for humans, but for every species capable of choosing its own destiny. The galaxy was no longer ruled by fear. It was guided by hope, and hope, as humanity had proven, was the most powerful force in the universe.